What if I told you the way it has always been done is not the best way? Facing your fears will change your life. The passion behind this journey is merging two separate worlds into one with the goal of creating value and awareness for a better life.
I'd rather be sidelined trying to achieve greatness than watch greatness achieved and it only set on the sideline. Now introducing your host, Jacob Emery.
Welcome to another edition of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast. And holy shit, folks, do we have a banger for you today. We are on Muscle Island with the CEO and the COO. And I cannot think of a better day to be recording content, watching a box hop, Muscle Island collab, and the ultimate, you cannot buy this anywhere, folks. It's a one and only.
It's a one-on-one.
The Muscle Island CEO, founder, man himself, Cory Gregory, and the executioner,
Facts.
Tyler Sealover.
Big facts.
This project, Tyler's been something pretty unique. I've seen it from a distance, been a part of it a little bit, but I want to jump right into it with you.
This motherfucker saying a little bit. I know, yeah, get that loud bit. I like the humility, though. Continue.
All right, so we've been a part of it. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Just a pretty face and some content, maybe put some pipes in the ground. So Tyler, let's start with you. What has this project done for you? Because this thing is something that I know you've grown a lot by doing. Let's get your perspective on it, man. Let's go right for the good stuff right off the rip.
Yeah, so personal growth overall, I mean, this is something that Cory and I have both talked about, and you and I a bit too through this process from start to finish, is just like, first of all, the theme for this whole thing has basically been, like you said, you detailed this as unique. It's obviously been an out-of-the-box, very unique, robust idea.
Never been done before.
Never been done before. And so, I mean, just as a little bit more context, this, just to get the land that this sits on currently, as everyone will get a little bit of a bigger picture than just what this background gives you. I mean, you'll break it down. This land was just, shrub and trees and a bunch of poison ivy for well over
150-year-old poison ivy.
No one's ever tried it because it's out just on the water by itself. It's, quite literally an island. So just understanding all of that and then saying, G telling me, I think I'm going to do it. I just saw this last night on Zillow. I'm going to call and an email already.
And I talked to Jake in the workout.
Yeah, talked to Jake Thursday. Figured out he puts pipe in the ground with the machine.
Yeah, a guy that can do this.
Forgot that detail.
So anyway, I mean, just jumping right into it and knowing that it was full go. It was like there was just no choice, but we were going to do it and we were going to figure it out. And when you do something like that and you know that you're not getting back out once you jump in, even if you felt like doing that, you're in for a big commitment. So
it is so extraordinary of a personal development journey whenever you start to do something that has never been done before. You know it's going to work and you have no idea how you're going to get there, what it's going to look like. And that is what the process and the joy is all about.
What I reminded Tyler of early in the process is we were running into some roadblocks is like, and we've talked about this multiple times with Max Effort too. This is why he came to work with me. This is why he sought it after, because he knew it was not going to be cookie cutter. It was going to be on us to figure a lot of things out in multiple businesses. This is not something we could have anticipated, you know what I mean? But the reality is, I think the solution-based thinking that I've always tried to, just kind of operate under, and just like the curious nature of like, why is this thing been sitting here since they made this lake in the late 1800s? How has not anyone figured this out yet? And can I we be, especially everybody on this panel right now, be part of that 3 feet from gold situation from Think and Grow Rich, where we could uncover where the opportunity is this, and I could legitimately have a once in a lifetime experience situation for my family. This is the type of things I've been looking for my whole career. Something that can be passed down at a multiple, hopefully $1 million level that is life-changing from an experience standpoint of everybody that's included, takes part in it, and comes to events here. And so I couldn't be more proud of everybody that's thrown in. Quite frankly, yourself, Todd, Callahan, any of the guys that have helped. I never really needed anything ever from you guys, like in this capacity, because I never did shit like this before. Like the reason why I knew Jake what he did, but I didn't actually know all the way. You know what I mean?
Which showed itself pretty true from that conversation the first day.
So, I mean, that actually has been really cool because there's been, I would say, guys come to my rescue. I'll call it that because that's what it is. On an event that I was or on a, a situation I was way over my head in to be like, no, I do that. I got you, G. And so that's been just super encouraging and I'm super thankful.
So you sent me this quote this morning and I got to read it.
Yeah.
A master in the art of living draws no sharp distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his education and his recreation. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence through whatever he is doing and leaves others to determine whether he is working or playing. To himself, he always appears to be doing both.
God.
I cannot think of a better fucking quote. And we talk about the joy in the journey all the time. We're working right now, G.
Yeah. I mean,
and this is fun as fuck.
It is.
All the hardship, all the pain, all the things that, we've been through, the personal growth.
Yep.
This is what it's all about. To not know whether you're doing something out of fun, business, hobby, enjoyment.
Mine has always been meshed together like that. That quote means so much to kind of how I live. I wish I would have said, I wish I could say I did it all on purpose because I did, but I didn't. I just really just focused and pushed on what felt really natural to me.
It was intentional.
It was intentional.
Yeah.
And then when there is days like this and just like you can kind of reflect on it. And it's funny that somebody retweeted that to me this morning. I hadn't seen that quote in probably a year or two. And I was reading it, I was like, damn, that's exactly what's happening out here and has been happening for a long time. So that doesn't come without a lot of challenges and getting your ass kicked and a lot of losses, but it's like the pursuit and the curious nature of all of it is kind of where the sauce is. I think people get to the end of certain things. I mean, Tyler could probably speak on this. Like we're getting towards the end of the major project here, right? And there's a little bit of like, oh wait, like that it's here because the pursuit has been the push of 1 year. Literally 1 year, 150 years versus 1 year of us motherfuckers. That's exactly what just happened. And I take a lot of pride in that. And Tyler and you, Jake, and anybody that's been involved in this project, especially at this level, should take pride in it because we did something that hadn't been done before. And that feels cool.
When you're able to be a part of something like that it's never been done before, so it's impossible until it's not.
Yeah.
If physics determines that it is possible, then it's possible, right?
For sure.
Like the 4-minute mile, everyone that's ever broke a threshold that was seemingly impossible, but was physically possible based on science, then it happens multiple times after that.
I also want people to understand, and me and Tyler talked about this, the push that we put on this thing, but then when there was times where you couldn't force it, but then when you would let go, it would show up.
Persistent patience, baby. That's my life motto.
Yeah, and the helping hands would come out. There's multiple occasions that this thing went our way because of the push. And people started to kind of rally behind us in areas of this thing, like with the township, with the state. Like, I think because they recognized how we were working and how on it we were. And really kudos to Tyler just because, like, his professionalism, which is way better than mine, I knew what that's fucking 100% facts.
Yours and mine combined.
Yeah, you want to stamp that for me, Jake. So I needed to I knew out the gate as Tyler was starting to talk about, he wanted to get mixed up in new opportunities and new challenges. And I was like, dude, I think this is it. And, I don't know. I just felt like he was the perfect guy for the job to help me.
I cannot agree to that more.
It was awesome.
Because there is this fire and gasoline thing. Me and G are business partners in a couple of ventures, but operationally to work together every day, we probably drive each other fucking crazy.
Probably.
Because we're so similar. Having that counter of someone like Tyler who's so methodical and thinks through all the details that me and you glance over very quickly.
Yes.
The support that Tyler provides for not just Max Effort, but for everything Cory G Fitness.
Yeah.
You guys are the ideal combo for
Agreed.
Operating a business. You got the crazy visionary person that's out there always throwing shit against the wall to see if it sticks. And then you got the person that one thing sticks out of the 10 that can take it and implement it.
Well,
it's super powerful.
The other thing too, Jake, is we're going to gas Tyler up a little bit more, is he still thinks a lot like us.
Yes.
But he has the component to implement things how we don't. And
Right.
that is the thing, because I know he fights it sometimes where there might be some things that like maybe you or I could do that maybe Tyler can't, but he clearly has so many things that we can't do too. But it's like if you can still think like an entrepreneur and understand that and still
Yes.
come up with those ideas, but still implement too, like I just don't have the ability to do the opposite. I think Tyler can play both roles better than me or you could.
I agree,
So,
1,000%. You know, there's this component. You took the Colby Index. I think I sent it to you a couple years ago, a year ago maybe. And when I seen it, I was like, well, that makes fucking sense. Because everything that you've done is so strategic, methodical. But I would almost venture to say through this process, you're probably getting a little bit more willing to take risk and more seeing what is the actual risk. You know, what's the worst case scenario on this? That's it. I can live with that. Let's move forward. Where before this project, I would say you might not have been as prone to doing that. I think out of everything that's happened on this, I would say his personal growth is probably the biggest
Massive.
increase.
massive.
And I don't even think he realizes it yet. I think me and you understand it because we can see it, but
Yeah.
I think you're just now starting to come into understanding it. Like, oh shit, I'm different because of this.
Think about Tyler. What as you kind of hear us, I know that you don't like to talk about yourself very much, but as
That's
you
why
hear
we're doing it
us
for you.
talk about you, like, how does that feel?
Yeah, no, it feels good. You guys definitely gassing me up. Thank you. I don't know. From like a principled standpoint, it does feel almost like maybe it's just a bad habit or a bad way of thinking from younger years. But it's almost like, man, the moment that I go out there and even remotely think of beating my chest or make it look that way, life's gonna try to throw something else at me. So I try to stay right in the middle of it. But no, I thank you guys for that, and I'm trying to make sure that I do pay attention and think of, okay, where are the areas that maybe the personal development have increased throughout this, and how can I continue to capture that momentum and implement it in all these other areas, and kind of just take that lens and take it with me anywhere else we go. If it is max effort in the supplements, if it's anything else within the enterprise, the real estate things, and just keep carrying that forward, because I think you're right, Jake, when you talk about that. When you say that maybe I just hadn't, maybe I had thought that way, but now I'm really starting to realize it, and I can more than just conceptualize it because we're physically looking at this right now. We've got a lot of the end result, a large percentage of it now.
It's not just a vision now.
It's not just a vision. And then I would say, just because of certain things that I had waded through and really had no choice but to find my way out of and grit through growing up in the early years of my life, really into adulthood, I've been able to really, like you said, see, well, I have no choice but to look at the worst case scenario, because maybe, and I heard you say this earlier, even if the circumstances were placed on you, but you're on the floor, you really have nowhere else to go but down, right?
I think we've all felt that way, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why we're sitting here.
Yeah.
So I've been able to, like you said, conceptualize and think outside the box and ask those questions like, well, why not me? Why?
You have to
why-
keep
why
asking
will
yourself
someone
that.
tell
Yeah.
me It's
Yeah.
impossible, because I want to show that it is.
Yeah. You really, I think what was cool, Tyler, is like, even coming into Max, it's not like we just started it. We had more iterations of it, right? So the risk of, is it going to work or not work? Maybe a little bit with the buyout, but still not the business. But it's like, this was so from the start, from the unseen to the seen, the solution, the idea, meshing with the box top, just the figuring out of things that truly no one else could figure out. That's a confidence like brick that no one can take from you, dude. And that you're going to take with you from everything that you do on, whether you realize it or not. There was a level of there was a notch that just went, you know what I mean? And people are going to look at you that way too, I think. Like if they already aren't already doing that or express that to you, it's happening. You just don't know it.
The ones
because
that
I can
are
feel
not-
it with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've
Yeah.
been proving shit for 20 years. You know what I mean? Because what this did was remind people that I'm this guy.
It wasn't an accident.
It's not an accident,
All
bro.
it's been intentional, right?
100%. Yeah. So it's a calculated risk with 10 or 15 years of built up finances to be able to take a quote unquote risk like this. And to me, it was like a very educated, calculated situation with everyone involved and the way that we operated with it. And so I'm super proud of that, because it showcased that something I'm super proud of is that my financial IQ has grown a lot since I was a kid, because that was the thing I had a big problem with. No one knew what the hell was going on. And I wanted to change that. This is a 25-year display of that, basically, all in 1 year,
Yep.
essentially. So I feel good for you to experience that, and then know now there'll be a version of whatever that is where you're the main guy. You know what I mean? Because that's what happens.
And here's the other thing about it. 1 year ago, I did not have a podcast yet.
Yep.
And a couple months after this point now, a year ago, Cory's taking it to commercial break, and it was an absolute dumpster fire on nitrous going down like the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
It was a complete shit show. Now, moving forward to today, it's still a partial shit show, but it's a lot more organized shit show.
You know what you're doing now, Jake.
So I would not have taken that leap, though, had I not had him and Treadway at my ear all the time, chirping, talking shit, like, dude, you just got to do this thing. Because I had self-doubt. And after a while, you realize that confidence doesn't come from what you say and what you think and how you speak on something. It just, your confidence is built by just stacking so many fucking wins from doing the hard thing every day. At some point, it doesn't matter what you say. It's just who you are and what you do. And the confidence isn't even recognized by you because you just are who you are. The confidence is recognized by everybody else.
For sure.
So a lot
100%.
of other people say, man, you've really changed. And that's where you haven't seen it yet. But the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you act, our interaction now compared to a year ago is a lot different. And it's one of them things that you just don't even realize is happening until you have like that aha moment and you're like, oh, fuck, I am this person.
I want to read this other thing real quick,
Yeah,
Jake.
read it.
It was, I tweeted this morning. I said, I made a deal with myself at age 15 that my life would be dramatically different as an adult and I would change generations of my family. 30 years later, I'm still holding up that promise and that deal because it's non-negotiable. I don't have to think about it. I am about it. And it's deeply rooted.
Because it's just who you are.
Correct. And that's kind of what, when you just said that, it made me think about the thing I was tweeting today, because I think people think sometimes I'm playing something. But
it's common though, right? Like in the social media world, like Hormozy talks about it, instead of doing content now for the next 5 years, grow your fucking business for the next 5 years, and then do content about it in the 6th year, because then you actually have something tangible we're talking about.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, I think often I'm like, man, I wish I would have done this, 5 years ago. Well, I hadn't achieved a fucking thing yet.
Yeah, you
it
weren't
would
ready
not
yet.
have had the value that it might now. And so, like, there is a time and place where everything is going to fall right where it should.
Yeah.
And
I would agree with that.
Connect the dots of your life. You look at it from that perspective. Financial setbacks, generational change, all the things. This is connecting your dots from the past.
For sure.
Creativity in itself is nothing more than unique experiences in life that are put together in your perspective and put out into the marketplace from that perspective. So, like Louis Simmons said, I didn't invent toilet paper, but I'm smart enough to use it.
Yeah, yeah.
He
When he's talking about bench
referenced that.
shirts.
Bench shirts and bands. Like he referenced it a lot.
Sure.
He studied others and then made his own path with everything else he learned. There isn't really anything that's original. Everything that we've done or thought about has been out there to some degree.
For sure.
And then we just make it our own. And that's what like being creative is all about. It all comes from life adversity. You talked about adversity earlier. Everything that happens in life really does happen for us, because we can either, if something bad, like your adversity growing up, you display that, you face it, you look at it, and then what? Are you just going to say, well, I can't achieve X because of what happened to me in the past? Or are you going to say, this happened to me, so think how fucking epic my story is going to be because I overcame that. And in spite of the circumstance, I did something great.
I literally used to think that when I first moved here, I was like, there's no way I'm meeting another fucking personal trainer coal miner.
Well, there wasn't a personal trainer to be had at
Yeah,
that point.
right. Personal trainer wasn't even a real job yet. So I just remember thinking that, even before content, even before I was like, when I, as Tyler's word, when I interface with clients that want to be, at the gym, and I tell them about my baseline of work ethic, they have to acknowledge it. It's just what it is. I knew that no one was going to have the story, and I knew I was in the story, and I was like, I knew that at 20. I was like, how are you going to, went from this situation to try to go live a dream that there was no defined path. People wanted to support it because I was fucking crazy enough to go after it.
The road less traveled is obviously harder to get down sometimes, right?
Yeah, but there's no traffic in your own lane. That's what Nipsey says.
That's exactly it. There is no traffic when you're paving the road.
No.
And to break the mold, you got to break through barriers. We've all had barriers in our life. Absolutely. So is that barrier going to be the thing that you just look at and stare at and never go past it? Or are you going to break through that fucking thing and get what you want out of life? The most powerful thing that I've really came to realize, the last year, we all die. We are going to be dead one day. In 100 years from now, everyone that's on Earth now is probably going to be dead. So to care about other people's opinions, to care about setbacks in life, who gives a fuck what people think?
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter. Now, there's levels of respect that you are going to have for the ones that you love and the ones that you seek opinions from. But Mrs. Johnson down the road isn't paying my damn mortgage or my electric bill. I don't give a damn what she thinks.
Nah.
And G, you said it so good a few years ago. You said, man, just document your life. That's what content's all about.
Yeah.
And you're like, if nothing more, if nothing less, your kids are going to see what you did one day because your story's fucking epic. You just don't realize it yet.
Yep.
And I thought, holy shit.
Yeah, and it's just going to be there, and they can get some nuggets off of it, bro. That's huge.
And like I said a little bit ago, I was sitting down with my daughter last night and did a half-hour interview
So
before
cool.
first grade.
That's so cool.
And like you'll get this chance now, Tyler, because you're doing things that have probably generationally never been done before, and content space, stuff like that for you. Like it was uncomfortable for you. It might even still be like it is for me or was for me. But you're going to break that fear, that barrier is going to be broke down. My daughter will never have the same struggle with the fear of being in the spotlight or being on camera that I had.
It's normal.
It's already normal to her. She wants to do a podcast.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, like, one thing that set me back for 20 years of my life, she's already overcame at 6.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's
to say.
power. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's super
like,
power.
you think about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
so,
love that.
like, a year ago, me and her sit down. She starts kindergarten. I start this podcast venture. And 1 year after, every fear or doubt we had a year ago is gone completely. And it's actually a strength of ours now.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, and then being able to document that experience with her is absolutely incredible.
Oh, it's priceless, Jake.
And so,
Totally
Tyler,
priceless.
for you have young kid, what, 3?
Yep,
3?
Got one on the way.
And so, congratulations, by the way. Let's shout out Tyler
Hell yeah.
Sealover and Mrs. Tyler Sealover.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Being a dad is super powerful. We're very young in our journey, and gee, you got some time
Got some
put
years
in on
on you.
that. But breaking generational curses and understanding that it is on us to do it.
100%.
Because
I love that. I love that pressure, though.
I do too.
I fucking love it.
I wouldn't have it any other way because
Dude.
it's made us who we are.
Yeah, I wanted to bet on myself. I didn't need no one bet. I mean, no, that gives you the option, dude.
Right. Well, and then how powerful is it whenever you have circumstances that are tough, you overcome them personally, but then you get to change the landscape of generations to come. Because essentially we are responsible for the outcome of our family, no matter what.
Of course.
So we can either follow the same path or we can make that new path, and then it never has that old path. That old path will not be gone down again because it doesn't exist anymore.
Vincent isn't going to see a fucking 1/8 of what Tyler saw.
Not my favorite.
And you know what? Like the real reality of it is, you might not yet. I know for me, I can speak for myself. I'm grateful for everything that I went through.
Of course.
I appreciate it actually because now I understand that without that, like adversity, I would never have became the person I am today. And we're gonna take a commercial break. This episode is brought to you by Max Effort Muscle. For all your supplement needs, go to maxeffortmuscle.com. And we're back from commercial break. That commercial break was brought to you by Max Effort Muscle.
There we go.
maxeffortmuscle.com.
There we go.
Subscribe now.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
talk about the subscription model.
Yeah, I mean, what's pretty cool is we're having our first event August 24th at the gym. Come train at Old School, tour the HQ. Subscription is any 3 products plus a gear that's just for you each month for $100, no shipping to your door, and you can come to the in-person events and hang out with guys like yourself, Jake Emery.
Yeah, I'll be there. We'll probably have the mic set up, be podcasting.
For sure.
Do some random interviews with all the guys coming in.
It'll be cool.
Women coming in. How many people are you anticipating?
I don't know. We might have about 50 people probably with everybody, I would say, roughly. So it'll be a good first event to test everything. And then, soon after we're going to be doing an event here. So we'll be preparing for that like in October sometime. That's the plan. I can already see what that's going to look like. It's
So
going
an
to be
event
sweet.
on Muscle Island.
You got it, buddy. That's the plan.
Biceps, bourbon, some
Cigars,
smokes. Oh, yeah.
white lights everywhere, light the place up, music, good fellowship, good food. Yeah, I don't know. I got the vision for it, so we're gonna.
Oh, I'm seeing it happen right now.
Yeah, we're gonna
Making me
execute that
thirsty.
thing. And there's plenty of room coming from the dock all the way to the house, so we can fit a lot of people in here, man, and hang out.
bunch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it.
I mean, we got the garage overlooking the lake.
Yeah.
With the gym hooked up to it. Like, it's pretty epic situation got there.
Yeah, it's gonna be super sick, man. I can see, like I said, a lot of these things I could see super clear. So my whole plan is just to back into that vision and see what it looks like. And I got to say, this actually looks even better than it did in my head.
Yeah. Well, it's bigger.
It's way
It's
bigger.
way more imposing.
Yeah.
The trees look a lot smaller now than when we first started
Yeah,
knocking
correct.
shit down.
Yeah, no, the structure itself is super imposing. I think partly because it's off 5 feet off the ground and
Yeah.
just the way the angles are. It just, yeah, it's really cool. So I couldn't be more happy with how everything looks.
So I got a friend of mine, Ryan Henry, who's our EOS implementer. I go to Lansing, Michigan every quarter and hang out with him, and we have an 8-hour business session. And he said something to me one day that just was eye-opening because of the visionary tendency that I have. And he said, a vision is only as powerful and as good as the implementation ability to be there.
True.
So having this grand vision is one thing, but to actually have someone that can implement it, like a Tyler Sealover, changes the ability to have a grand vision.
That's why
Because
we
a
got done so fast.
A vision without an implementation is just a dream
Yep.
or a thought. It's no more than that. Tyler, for you, let's talk about what that's like for you to be able to be a part of that, but then to know that it's
What's
on
up,
your
Rob?
shoulders.
Yeah.
You're executing.
Yeah. Well, I will say largely from like a gangster type of position, all the capital was not coming out of my pocket. So, I mean, that was being able to acknowledge that and understand that that part of the pressure wasn't exactly directly on me the same way it was.
Yeah, but you know what I'll tell you though, Tyler, is that you've operated like it was.
Yeah.
And
That's
most
what I
people
was
don't
gonna
have
go.
an
Yeah.
ability to do that. They just think, you know, G can just keep writing checks. But I think what my process and what my plan was is to really keep you very like transparent in that process so you understood, and even more so with Max. And I think you've grown a lot just from that understanding
Yes.
because I feel like you can put yourself in my shoes and you're operating like it is your checkbook. And that is like not how most people are.
Whenever you start operating and seeing commas with zeros and another comma with more zeros, even if you don't have it, when you see it and you're around it and you're aware of it, you
Yeah.
start to realize that your bank account starts to develop the commas and the zeros.
Yeah,
Your net
yeah.
worth starts to get that because it's secondary nature to you. And, you know, me and G talk about numbers in a different language than, you know, a lot of people can even, like if they heard us talking, they wouldn't even know what we're talking about because we're talking about millions. That's common for us, but it's very common for you now. You're seeing it. And as you're digesting P&Ls, looking at gross net margins and like your COGS and all the different things that you digest in a P&L, you're really starting to develop this tangible business knowledge that is so hard to develop and learn unless you're around someone that's a pioneer that is willing to be vulnerable and let you see it. Because it's scary sometimes when you're not seeing the good part.
Absolutely.
And you've seen bad.
Oh, yeah.
And G's had to say, man, this is what it is. Here's what we got. This is what we need to do. And it's tough.
Yeah.
But that is where
That's where the
business,
sauce is.
that's where it's at. The growth is right there.
Well, and, you know, you're talking about how it's almost like speaking a different language, and it really is, because getting the opportunity to, you know, learn through that and gain that understanding is one thing. But once you do and kind of just get immersed in it, because you know, afforded the opportunity, but then we get to the spots to where we're like, look, we have to go and operate this way if this is our mission and we want to continue to, you know, to bring division, so that it just is what it is and we have no other choice almost.
Yeah.
It really does open up a whole nother world. And so you do have to evaluate everything different. It changes the lens at which you look through at everything, and it tells a different story when you start to piece all that information together. So it's a whole new way of operating.
You're really getting a whole different story.
Absolutely.
Because you're truly on like the ground level of it differently. And when because people don't even realize the strategy that goes into something like this. And so, you know, because the things that we've had to mull over and talk about and you know, and I would go an extra, you know, to say, no, this is how I'm thinking about it. Here's how I'm going to execute it. This is what this dollar goes and that. And like you start to realize like this is how this stuff really happens.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't like just happen. It's all of that all the time. It's all required.
Yes.
And so much so during this process.
Oh my
I won't
gosh.
walk back too far, but right before commercial break, you were just talking about the perseverance paired with the personal growth and the realization of those things. And so you also mentioned Hormozy earlier. I just saw something probably this morning, and it was very simple, very concise, but it's so true. And he just says, as long as you just don't quit,
Yeah.
don't quit, you
Yeah.
can't lose.
Yep.
And you may not, you may feel like you've lost today and yesterday, and maybe you have another.
Dude, I get my ass
next
handed
week.
to me all the time.
But there's no one saying that you really can't participate anymore as long as,
True.
death doesn't come knocking at your door like you spoke about earlier. So it's like we knew that we weren't going to quit. And so we were going to find a way, not just not to lose on this, but to figure out a way to win. And it's physically materialized so much on this. And paired with that, Jake, you were talking about just before break as well, the personal development aspect of it and whether or not it's realized yet. And I would agree with you. I think largely, even years ago, it's funny. I felt like I had almost conquered so much of those things that we had battled with before, the anger, the frustration, the misunderstanding, the self-limiting things. And I have gotten to a point where I say, you know what, I really wouldn't change anything. And
No.
I am grateful for all the experiences, but I really respect you. Thank you for bringing up you felt like you had some self-doubt when starting out the whole podcast venture as well, because I mean, the podcast is just a microcosm of everything else that you go and do in your day-to-day life. But that insight is so true, because you have the option to be humbled almost every single day, and that was one thing that was there for me as well through some of these things. But you get an opportunity like this. Not only do you not have a choice, otherwise it's just going to run you over.
Yeah.
But if you keep going, it's those repetitions that's going to really galvanize that confidence.
It tried to run us over a couple
Yes,
times, Tyler.
Yeah. and here's the thing about business and about life. There's one word that has to be always something that you're looking to do, and that's grow. But it doesn't always mean that your business is growing. There's times where you're growing yourself and the business doesn't grow to match. So either your business is growing or you are growing. And as long as you keep them two things together, they will both equally grow.
Yeah.
It's just normally like a business struggle presents an opportunity, like not being able to get plastic bottles, not being able
Yeah,
to get
of
all
course.
these certain things, change the model.
Could ship them better,
Yeah.
more efficient. Yeah. Of
So
course.
all these setbacks in business where the business doesn't grow creates opportunity for us to grow ourselves, and then the business growth follows it because of the setback.
For sure.
And growth always has to be an initiative for anyone that wants to be successful, entrepreneur, or anything in life. You have to continue to grow, because if you're not growing, you're going backwards.
I love this challenge, all of it, and the understanding of real estate that I have now. I definitely am not going to deem myself some real estate fucking smart guy, but it's just now I just know more, and so then that's powerful for me ongoing, and it's just like now my excitement is on sharing it and leveraging it for the businesses and leveraging it honestly to inspire people, because when
That's it.
people come here, I want them to be like, holy shit, I know G's story. I've been around him. I'm now around these guys and him again. And this is what this 25 plus years of talking fucking out my ass crazy it led to, you know what I mean? Like, and they're seeing the work around it. So it's like, I think that this place can inspire. And I think a lot of my next evolution of life is going to be teaching and the books and the media. And so I feel like this is like a really just a good example of a lot of it kind of wrapped up, and it just, I don't know, I feel super thankful that I came and stood on it, because I'm telling you guys, I was about probably here, because this is about as far as I could walk, and I looked up and there were so many trees, and I just saw like the canopy, and I was just like, I literally, because I was just here by myself, like they were on the boat, my wife and Stacy, because Brian and Jake came with me the first time. We just drove around it though. I never stood on it, so I didn't have the feeling. Then I was like,
It was like the next day you sent
it was
that
the next
picture.
day.
Yeah.
It was the next day. I was like, I need to stand on it and see what it feels like. And then I thought to myself, holy shit, G, could you have your own fucking island? And then I started thinking to myself, I think I can. And then I was like, until somebody says no, this just feels right. I'm fucking doing it.
Here we are.
And here we are.
A couple people tried to say no, but
Oh, yeah. A couple people thought it was.
Well, not only, so you buy the land, and then you had no intention of this at first. It kind of came after, right?
I was going to do, my whole intention was like a small 1 or 2 tiny houses, like, keep it really wooded. But then I realized it was zoned where I had to have minimum square footage, and because it's lakefront. So that's part of the learning process. Right. So then I was like, well, if I got to do that, I'm going to message this guy and see if he wants to build one of these cool shipping containers here.
Just so happens to live in the same town that you do.
Town.
Like, you can't make that shit
And
up
was 2 years ago one of the highest ranking Airbnbs on Airbnb total, like on the whole site.
I can see why though. He's got some epic
Builds.
properties.
Yeah. And this is going to be right up there because it's an epic build with my own spin on it. So yeah, no, it's super exciting. And I've said this multiple times to people that have asked me about this. And I would say, well, we've encountered probably the hardest development possible with the logistics and the barge and the boring.
The land.
Yeah. So I was like, if you asked me, and the point is like, you asked me to develop something right over there, I wouldn't even be scared.
Yeah.
Not here because it's still the island, but if I'm somewhere else where it's just regular land. So anyway, it's like the learning, once again, I've had multiple things in my life like this that are just really test me and help me grow. This is just one of those reminders and also one of those like things that it's going to be here for a minute. I wonder if he's putting that window in because that'd be sweet. He's pulling, guys can't see it, it's off camera. Rob's pulling some stuff down. But anyway, it's super exciting. And I don't know, I really like the growth for myself, but I'm very happy about Tyler's growth in this process because I think we're going to be able to do a lot of projects together. So,
well, I call it Pursuit 151. I know I've told you guys about it, but commitment, confidence to when you're in pursuit of something to make that final choice. In my opinion, you got to be 100% committed. 51% confidence is enough though to take the leap because the confidence will grow as you start and take that first step. And for Tyler, I feel like a year ago, I would say you'd be very prone to wanting all the detail and the perfect plan or a very clear plan. But now you see taking that first couple steps is the biggest and most crucial thing if you really want something. And it's maybe not that you didn't understand it before, but now you've physically seen it, you've been a part of it. And so taking that leap is incredibly challenging. But whenever you do it a couple times, you build so much confidence and ability to think differently that, 100 years, never been done before. A year later, let's throw a box top on it and have a one-of-a-kind in the world only spot. Right. And like it's just done, and you didn't know how, but you knew that you had the who's around you that could help you get to a certain point.
Figure it out.
You had the financial stability and backing if needed. You just had the network established. This isn't a product of 1 year. This is a product of 25 years of hard work and relentless.
This has nothing to do with 1 year.
Yes. But this is the byproduct of that continuous growth.
For sure.
And so when you think about fear, I look at fear like fear is miles long. And when you are faced with fear or setback or adversity, it looks so big and so scary. But it's miles long, and then normally it's only like a few inches deep. So whenever you think about the fear and the setback, it's just going for it quickly, taking that first step, knowing that I have an end goal in mind and I want to take the first step to this. I know I can take one step in the right direction. I'll figure out the rest as I go. It's hard for a lot of people to understand that, but to actually do it is even harder. But once you realize it, just with the smallest little thing, it creates this superpower of confidence that is just unmatched.
What I know that me and Tyler talked about multiple times was him understanding the speed of the decision making, and then like when you're involved in a process where you see it go from literally nothing to this in that amount of time, and how many different things had to fall in place and be executed and be, basically shepherded properly.
So many people.
Yeah, so many people. But talk about that maybe, Tyler, because I think that might be something that a lot of people don't understand about which is the first conversation I ever had with Cole. You can be a great graphic designer, but I can't wait a week for something.
What's the price of inaction?
Yeah, you know what I mean? So
there's a big price tag for not taking action.
Yeah, the speed thing is just crucial, and obviously there is a method to all of that madness, and because there's so many people, and there's a different dynamic between myself or us and every one of those individuals. So one person, might have a perfectly professional and fine interaction when we're calling them every single day, but the next one might be totally peeved by it. The next one, that might stoke fear in them and their job. And so the dynamic in like the nature that we shepherd that process all the way through, literally every single day, sometimes every 30 minutes of every hour of every single day. So good. And some of these cases is very crucial, but definitely to the point of just you have to see it through. And you have to continue doing it, because I thought that I understood just in principle, in perpetuity, about making decisions quickly. And I thought that I'm a person, I've known that, I've done that, I've had to do it just for my own survival and progression and things, but this thing took it to a whole different level, just because of all the different areas, all the different entities, the logistics. Sometimes you're dealing with legal teams, sometimes you're dealing with just local municipalities. It was very unique, but there was just definitely one thing is we couldn't give up, and we had to stay steady on it every single
I
time.
kind of liked having the timeline of the water going down in November too,
Oh, yeah.
because I think
So,
that
date
with
on
the
the calendar.
landscaping, it was
Yeah.
a date on the calendar that we had to meet to have those things pop up out of the dirt over there, and so that right there, because then I wouldn't have had enough, the finances to set this up and the timing. So it was like one of those things. Like I liked having that date on the calendar, and then us pushing for that. I was really proud of that.
Well, whenever you have a date established or a timeline of any established, then it's easier to set the timeline with the goal and then work backwards from
Yeah,
there.
for sure.
And if you don't have time established on anything, then it's hard to manage the progress, scale it to achieve it. Whether you hit that timeline or not, you're a lot more prone to hit it than if you don't have it.
Of course.
I think Elon Musk, he had some crazy, analogy about that. And he was like, yeah, I want to colonize Mars. And he was like, well, if I don't, but maybe I'll get people on Mars, or I'll know all about it. Like the goal, if I set it there for 10 years, I'll probably achieve it in 10 years. But if I go for 1 year, I might not achieve it 1 year, but I'll be a lot closer than I would in 10.
I also think that, you hear a lot of hokey stuff about visualization or any of that. I think that, once you kind of got something locked, which becomes your goal, to see it play out and to kind of, I don't know, this was present in my mind, obviously daily, as I would come here and do a bunch of shit I didn't want to do. But I kept thinking of myself being on that porch, enjoying a cigar, sitting out here probably in the fall, because I wasn't like sweating. I was just like comfortable, and just checking my phone for my businesses, enjoying my family and friends. And I just kept keeping that. When we were here building the seawall and waders and fucking running for sump pumps and a month behind on the fucking helical piers. And even when we got the information that we had to have 18 33-foot helical piers as the foundation, and then 4 foot of fucking sonotubes, then 5 foot of block, like shit I ain't never even seen before. Like, to be able to keep that present in mind, that I'm working towards that vision, which I'm probably a month out from at this point. You know what I mean? So I've just kept that in present in mind the whole time.
There's a lot of power in the manifestation part of the visualization of it. And I've heard a lot of, oh, that's hokey or whatever, but anyone that says that probably has never achieved much that they can visualize, that they can't touch or feel or see.
It's the action around it, Jake.
Yes.
That's the problem, because people like want to preach that you can just think about it and it happens. That's not true. You got to have part of that, but that's what Arnold taught everybody, is the work around it. That's all he's been speaking about since he became a bodybuilding champion. Like, he saw the he visualized being the best bodybuilder, and then he went and worked 5 hours a day on it. And then he also ate good and stayed disciplined, and he really proved it right out the gate with the way he was teaching all of us that, enjoy lifting weights. It's really no different. It's still the same fucking path.
Absolutely.
You're working backwards towards it with the work.
Massive action is what you guys have displayed, but
Yeah.
the visualization side, especially with how you guys just are naturally wired, you guys have experienced that so much, because I've read and learned so much about that. I really don't think it's hokey at all. And to your point, Jake, you kind of combine the two things that you guys have said is, they have to, maybe some of those folks that don't believe that and don it as hokey just haven't had the chance to experience it yet. But then when you combine it, G, with you talking about that massive action, it will bring it forward, because, it might feel like magic, but I believe that there is some universal science behind that, to where the subconscious mind, when you do all that,
Yes.
There is,
doesn't know the difference.
No.
It doesn't know the difference.
It just wants to serve you
Yes.
that up, you know what I mean? And so if you stay too long and revel too much in that fear, the second guessing and all that, it's so much lower down on the vibrational totem pole.
Yeah.
100%, bro.
You're never going to be able to get yourself out of that. You start operating in these new ways,
Yeah.
this is what you get.
There's
The
certain
longer-
rules that the whole thing operates by.
Yes.
It's just what it is.
The longer that you focus on the fear and not take the step, the bigger the fear gets, the less likely you are to commit to that thing. Actions prove who somebody is. Words are no more than a display of who you want to be. So you can talk about anything, but it's what you do with the action part that actually shows who you are. Because I know a lot of people that talk about a lot of shit that don't do anything with the action part, and that's nothing more than a daydream to me.
Yeah.
That's just saying that I want to do this thing, but I'm not actually going to do it because I'm not willing to take action on the thing.
I'm really proud of like the banker, Sally Heckman, that helped us from First Fed, that's doing the financing, and I've known her for years. She gave me a compliment saying like I was the perfect person for this. And that makes me feel really good, because I pride myself on being a person that can take challenges like this and beat people on the time and speed or what they thought was supposed to happen or is in normal situations. We ain't normal. I ain't never signed up for normal. I didn't want to be normal. I never aspire to get up every day to be normal. I'm trying to do outlandish shit and live my life like that quote that you read. And so that makes me feel good because that's the pursuit I'm after. And that doesn't happen all the time. This was a thing that I took a chance on that like you said, I've really been preparing my entire career for. All these relationships, all the paying it forward, all of that stuff came into this. It was all necessary because that's the type of project it is. So.
Well, and just in life in general, there is a known cost of what it's going to take to try to achieve this thing that you wanted to, desire to have. But there is no guarantee that you actually get it regardless of how relentless in the pursuit you are. And I'm going to read this quote real quick. So it's certain that victory isn't always straightforward or definite. The path to achieving our goals is normally filled with setbacks and moments of self-doubt. That's why we have no choice but to be relentlessly committed to pushing forward, regardless of how challenging things become. So let us refuse to surrender in spite of challenges. Let's believe that as long as we don't give up and push ourselves to the limit, success will follow.
Yeah. I just knew I wasn't going to quit on any of this stuff.
So you're going to achieve what you want.
You got
because you're not ever going to give up. So quitting is the ultimate failure. And failing at something or having a setback is just a learning lesson.
100%.
Nothing more than that.
Well, and also I think that I've said this multiple times about this is that it's scary, but I'm not scared. There's a difference.
It's okay to be fearful, but it's not okay to be afraid. If you're afraid to fail, then you're going to fail or you're never going to try.
Yeah.
Being fearful is just a part of it, but kind of
everybody has doubt. Everybody thinks what happens if not, but it's but is that going to paralyze you from actually moving yourself forward?
Well, I think the real power is in understanding that being fearful is okay, but then controlling the fear, making fear, put your arm around the fear and take it with you and not let the fear be in control. I
try to evaluate the worst case scenario once, and then I honestly attempt never to go back there again after I make the decision. I only think about winning. And I know that the process is going to be far from perfect, and you can't be perfect anyway. It's impossible. So
it's an ideal that doesn't
exist. So don't attempt to be, don't try to be known to be some perfect person. It doesn't fucking work that way. I want to be known as a consistent person. I'm a consistent person that fucking has lost a ton, but has also won a lot, and I want to be known as that. Perfect doesn't exist, so I'm not even attempting to be that. I know I'm gonna fuck a bunch of stuff up, say the wrong thing, do the wrong shit. I already just know. It's just part of it. Mm-hmm. But if you kind of take it like that, because I think a lot of people are worried about, letting other people down or messing something up. And it's if you just don't redo it again, that's my thing. If we just keep doing the same dumb shit over and over again, we're fucking idiots. If we fuck it up once or twice, we're not. We're still learning. That's part of it. And I think Tyler does this a lot to himself. He puts a lot of pressure on himself sometimes, which is why he's so good at his job. But then I have to remind him yo, you ain't never done this before. This is how we learn. And then we just don't do it again. Don't repeat it.
They're called growing pains for a reason.
Yeah.
Right. So from your point of view, let's talk about the perfectionism and the procrastination component, because them two are really tied together. So perfect, ideal, not actual, something that can be measured, because perfect is different. It's an opinion to everybody that's different. So is perfectionism something that you struggle with, being so detail-oriented? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and I won't get too deep and philosophical on it, but I mentioned it earlier. A lot of it I had to realize and learn where it came from, and it wasn't strictly just because I gave all of my emotional evaluation to everyone else's opinions. It had a lot to do with how circumstances were growing up, because basically what I had learned from a very young age is whatever this ended up meaning. All I could hear was, if I'm not perfect, I'm wrong and bad and I'll be in trouble, and that can't be it. So it was everything. It was being very careful, being very meticulous, being quiet, being out of the way, being perfect on all those things. And if I did that, maybe I wouldn't stick out like a sore thumb in else's lives. And so obviously that could get real emotional real quick, but I think really it was just a lot of that was so ingrained, and you have to go through the repetition of working yourself out of those things.
Yeah.
Because it's just not going to serve you that well at the end of the day. A lot of that I may have cultivated over time, a decent work ethic, professionalism, crossing T's, dotting I's out of that. But
for sure,
it, like you said just a moment ago, G, is at a certain point though, there will become a diminishing return if you don't break yourself out of
100%.
You know what I mean?
So I just want to have a moment right here, because a little golf clap.
Yeah, for sure.
Tyler Sealover has grown so fucking much in the
Tons.
last 6 months to a year. I commend you for that.
Yeah, it's
Because
awesome.
facing the adversity and looking at it for what it actually is, understanding it, and then knowing that, okay, this happened, and then what? Right?
There's still another way ahead.
You can let it be the thing that sets you back, or you can tell how your story is going to be so fucking epic because you overcame it and use it as fuel to change. Congratulations, Tyler, because you are a different person than even a few months ago, let alone last year.
No question.
But golf claps,
Yeah,
Tyler Sealover.
no question.
And then I know I had mentioned this a little bit earlier already, but what's really interesting is about this is I'd seen myself through so many things, living out of the home and with some of my friends even before finishing high school. Got myself through college, a couple degrees, got myself my first big boy job, so to speak, that went along with that education, and then I had felt at that point, and it wasn't really out of arrogance, but I thought, you know what? I have proven to myself that I can break myself out of that. I don't just have to be that same person and live in that same old stuff we came from. And I saw that real-time evidence that I could do that and live it.
That's cool.
And be a more confident person. I walked taller, like you said, spoke more confidently, a little bit louder. And it wasn't that I thought I had conquered the world, but I felt like, you know what, this isn't going to go away. And it almost like I was starting to think, I'm never going to have that tested again. And it was so interesting because almost like you go from one gear and shift to the next, those RPMs get forcibly brought right back down and not operating quite as hot as you were just at that first other phase. So I would almost, give the metaphor of jumping from that previous role I had with my schooling education and really breaking into the craziness world of just Cory's world alone, also the world of quasi-entrepreneurship, if that's what you call it. It really rocked the world and it forces that recalibration once again. So I shifted that gear or tangent.
Motherfuckers that work with me got to calibrate, bro.
RPMs came down and I felt like maybe at least once every couple of days, if not for sure every couple of months, I was like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It just so humbly recalibrates everything and really forces you to, regather almost every single day. You know what I mean? You have to improvise. You have to adapt or die. And no 2 days, no 2 months, no 2 years feel exactly the same. And it's just been so interesting. But I wouldn't change it.
Well, that's the part I was always like enamored with, is that it was going to be interesting. Like anybody, no
Not
matter
much for a
what.
dull
Yeah,
moment.
You sign up to work with my crazy ass. It is going to be interesting continually. That is a fact.
But that's what makes it so fun.
This is 100% what makes it fun.
We talk about that process and the journey and all that, but like that is the true testament about fulfillment, happiness.
For sure.
I mean, having stuff is cool, but the ability to work through the hardship and accomplishing that is really what the ultimate prize is.
I think just being curious about things, like this is obviously one major curiosity that we just kind of answered here. Like, I think that's where kind of the sauce is on a lot of these, and even just some of the new models that we're doing with Max Effort. And so to me, it's like that's what kind of keeps everything exciting and building, and more different iterations and kind of rebrands. And I don't know. To me, it's like just an ongoing evolution over time. And everybody at our spot has grown from all of it.
The unique component of that, we're very sporadic, our visionary tendencies and our ideas and stuff. So we have this front stage of that, but really the backstage is what builds it. And that is the consistency over time, every day, doing the same thing, the training, the nutrition, the supplementation, the hydration. We're very sporadic in our thought process as far as the evolution on the front stage, but the backstage never changes.
No, it's
but
stable.
The backstage foundation is what allows us to grow.
No question. I think that it's it's kind of a weird mix and match that I don't even think I really understood about myself all the way till really most recently, even so. But probably since I left MP and then restarted these new companies with Cory Fitness and Max Effort, I started to realize that. I don't know, I just like you guys growing up, I think I had this one idea of who I was, but I really was operating quite a bit different till I really understood myself. Right. That I was more of a creative. The problem is that I was straight blue collar before this. And so that's more like lifting weights. So I know how to do that. And then, but I'm not good at or naturally or even like anything that's operational.
Well, you
And
never had that environment either. I think the
yeah,
environment plays
but
a
I
big
was
part
never
of
like very good at school or anything that was really like structured. So then it was like, then you go to the creative side, but then like that didn't match up with the weightlifting as much, right? But programming is creative.
Right.
And so then when the content started happening is when I started to realize like who I really am in this like scope of work, you know? So there's been a lot of that. And this is going to birth a whole nother version of that because of the experience. And that's what I'm really excited about.
This baby's popping out. We're at the shoulders right now. Things all this way.
Yeah, no, that part's really exciting for me because I can see what's possible with the content here, and I know exactly what to do with it. So I'm excited to execute that.
Yeah, you know, you talk about creativity, and my last strategic coach, we talked a lot about that, and about, you know, experiences in life and connecting the dots. I never thought I was creative at all. Like even to this day, I still question sometimes. That's some pretty epic shit.
I felt the same way,
right?
Jake.
And like some of the stuff that I've came up with, I'm very confident in what the outcome's going to be. Whether I'm right or wrong is to be determined, but I think it can have tremendous value in my industry and on the pipeline side.
Definitely.
By showcasing a different, never before done approach.
Yep.
Whether it works or not, I don't know. I'm confident it will, but it's just connecting the dots. You know, R&R pipeline, max effort muscle, put them together and have a baby. That's the Iron Infrastructure LLC. And like understanding that now, I knew when I came up with the business idea why I was doing it, but it took a little bit of time to truly think about it and process the reality of how the iron built my infrastructure, from heavy equipment to weightlifting. You know, like the whole thing all came together. It's like, holy shit, I just wrote my life story.
Yeah.
It just all came together. Like this is one of the last chapters of that book.
But you're curious and you're pursuing it. It's the same thing as like, I didn't know the day I woke up that I was going to write that book. But because of going through this exercise of like, you know, buying the island, starting to clear it, starting to feel why, like what it's feeling like, the pursuit of it, the curiosity, I woke up that day and I said, this is it. Like I knew I could just feel it. That's why I turned all my shit off and wrote the letter to Rach and said, I'm going to the island. I'll turn my phone back on whenever my book's done. I knew it. I didn't want to mess it up. I knew if somebody texted me or I got a notification, it could have been gone. And instead of 6 hours later, it was done. And
I was just going to say, I commend both of you guys for breaking all that down and really giving a little bit more of the humble background and talking to you about some of the, I won't say struggles, but just so much human nature aspect that exists.
Oh.
Guys, because you guys are both big dudes, you know, financially, seemingly well off to the rest of the world, good looking guys. It would be easy for everyone to think, man, their life is just, I wish that was me. It's just this unattainable thing. And there's just so much that everyone needs to understand, that no matter who you are and maybe what phase of life you're in, human nature still exists.
Oh,
it's really good to hear you guys break it.
Absolutely. Well, I think like what I'm proud about the book is too, is that the audio book is actually the original audio.
Raw.
It's raw, bro. I can't recreate how I felt the second week sitting here by myself. The first time I ever drove the boat by myself, docked it by myself, got here, sitting on a tree right over there with like 4 or 5, actually 6 bullet points each chapter, hitting that button. I can't recreate that.
Well, it all happened in one time, but it was a continuous like effort and unconscious motivator, thought, whatever it was, that was stored, and then your brain finally connected it all together, and there's something that triggered it that day. The same as me and you, a month ago, we're sitting down after a workout, dripping fucking sweat from probably the first, start of the pump 30s, and we're sitting there talking, and it hit me all of a sudden how the iron built my infrastructure. And I talk about this breakdown of that book. I wrote the bullet in the outline of the book that day, sitting there, and then went home and ripped out a 45-minute audio and said,
love it.
I sent it out and said, this is what I want the book to look like.
I would always urge people that when it's on the quote unquote like tip of your tongue, just do it. Because if I would have just waited, it would have been gone, and instead it's going to be a bestseller.
Documented.
Because of that day. Because that day, and I knew that at 9 o'clock Ray was going to be calling me, wondering where I'm at. I knew that I needed to take every aspect of anybody fucking it up out. And I'm super proud of that thing. Actually, somebody just texted me today. There's this business guy from New Albany, and he's on a train from Venice to somewhere else in Italy, and read the book because I sent it to him. It's one of my new clients' dads. It's a heavy hitter. And he wrote back the things that he got from it. And that just goes to show, like, whether it's a college kid we're giving it away, or this guy is definitely like a super well-off business guy, like he got something from it, and he chose to do it on vacation when he's on a train in Italy today. I got the message this morning. Super cool.
That's great.
Yeah, it's cool.
So you just mentioned that vacation and the shower, something we do every day, a time where our brains are somewhat shut off. Is that when your creativity spikes? Have you ever noticed that? So like, you know, you just get done with the weightlifting and the personal development, you get home, get a shower, get cleaned up for the day. That's how the Iron Infrastructure LLC started.
Yeah.
I hop out of the shower within 20 minutes. Right here, September 7th, 2023.
Oh, that's where you drew it.
That's
Amazing.
where I draw the logo.
Love it.
Not even, it was less than a year ago. And I sent that to Cole after I probably put some colors and
Yeah.
tape and shit on it. And then he whipped it up, but that wasn't even a year ago. Like,
Crazy.
it came to me in 20 minutes, but it really was this relentless pursuit for so long.
But you're setting the path up with your habits to even allow it to happen. And I think that's where, like, you know, because I'm not always super creative, but I'm still doing the same process.
Right.
So it doesn't mean whether it was going to be that day or 2 weeks later or whatever, I still would have caught it because I'm preparing myself for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably like a lot of it is that if you're not putting yourself through that washing machine of some sort, whatever your version of that is each day, you might not be giving yourself really the opportunity to be that person.
Well, and that's where the personal development part of this comes in, because you're continuously learning, but it doesn't mean you're continuously putting something out because
Yeah.
of it. But when you do, it's all from that growth and that compound
sure.
effect of that personal development.
Absolutely.
So Tyler, for you, I don't know if you're naturally a creative person or not, but now seeing this process, what is your mindset like in comparison to before the project as far as creativity, what's possible? I mean, there had to be this massive, like, life-changing evolution for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, so largely, like you were saying earlier, G, is just, it's been such a reminder and a rekindling, rather.
Yeah. What you're capable of.
What you're capable of.
It's everything, bro.
It is the compounding, so it's not only a reminder of what you're capable of, and so there's a large aspect of something that maybe it's already been there, it's been in,
Of course.
but to your point, Jacob, just building so much more confidence, and when you pull from those times of growth, and sometimes it happens in a short period of time and happens really quick, maybe is the better way to say it. It's almost like a new iteration of yourself. So it's just it's changed a lot of things, and so, you know, when you talk about it, G, coming out here and having the uninterrupted time, it's really like a magical blend of you can't force it, and you can't have all of, like, there's not going to be a perfect time all the time.
No.
And have all of the whole world shut off around you, but there is something magical that happens when you do have that special time or moment to yourself, and maybe that is why it is, because when you're in the shower, because, you know, you're by yourself for a moment, everything else is shut off, you're in there for one task, and so the brain is allowed to deviate a little bit, and all of that culminates and comes out in that moment. And so I would say, I don't know, for me it happens a little bit unintentionally too. Maybe it is when we're right in the middle of a business day, and maybe it's because we're doing these new things that it's happening in those areas of your brain that you weren't operating in before.
I would say that you're wrong. It's not unintentional. It's actually intentional.
Very intentional.
You just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
And so you could not have teed that up any better, because it is actually an intentional thing. You become aware of the, like, intentionality of it over time, where you set time aside to be creative, and it really doesn't work that way. It comes and goes. I know we've talked about like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off of creativity sometimes, where like one day you can just go rip shit out all day, never been, you know, presented from your context that way, like it's something new. And then there might be a time frame of just like nothing.
But the schedule is the same.
But the schedule's the same, and then that nothing time is ultimately leading up to that overnight success where,
Yeah.
you know, 12 years for one goal of buying our pipeline. It wasn't one day that I bought the company.
No.
It was 12 years of hard work that led up to that point of being able to. And being creative is kind of that same way, where you're just intentional about your day-to-day and what you're doing, and then the creativity comes. It's intentional. It's just not, you're not directly thinking of it as a creative thing in that moment. Does that make sense?
I think so, and I've heard a lot of people refer to that as or when you're able to tap into that and those ideas start to come out to play. I've heard a lot of people refer to that as the flow state.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
it's lovely. Like when it comes up,
For sure.
on you and you're in that, and once you realize, oh man, I'm in it right now. It's really a matter.
Don't get out of it.
So talk a little bit about. I've always asked myself that question too, of like, how can I cultivate that and maintain that as much as possible? Because obviously you're like you talk about both of you all the time. Business and life in general is sometimes going to sucker punch you out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to have to wade through those a lot. But how do we, as best you can, maintain that flow state and really just ebb and flow right in?
It's the fucking habits, Tyler.
Yeah.
Because they can't, like, there's nothing tomorrow that's going to deviate from, like, whether my day's good or bad. I'm still going to do the same thing tomorrow. At least the first part, right? It's still set up the same way, so I get a chance at if that's going to happen. I'm not looking for it and waiting for it, but if it's there, I'm gonna tap into it. And unless it's barring something like obviously crazy catastrophic, it's going to be like that next week and the week after that and the week after that, and then you blink and 15 years have went by and all these things have happened because that's just part of it. And you know the reason why I know that book I think is going to be wildly successful, I can't even remember it. That's how much of a flow state I was in. And it's because of the uncertainty of what I had just done. And because I put myself in that uncertainty at the fullest level of belief. I didn't know that Jake could pop those up. I thought he could, but we didn't really all the way know yet, right? But we're still clearing the trees. We're still figuring it out. I knew it was a major commitment. I knew it was a major financial commitment with the unknowing part, right? And so I think I was blessed with that day. I had to recognize it. I would argue if I don't have the habits, I don't recognize it. I miss it. It misses me. But it didn't miss it. And I said, ooh, I need to shut it down and go do it. And because I've had that experience in the past, it was plain as day to me. And I got done with it 5-6 hours. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I just said, but I know it was fucking.
And it came out. And because
with ease.
Yeah.
Immersed.
You're immersed in all of that day to day, and with you talking about those habits, it's sometimes that the flow state might, or the creativity, or those massive groundbreaking ideas are not exactly dime a dozen, but when they do come along, you would feel that those are the reasons why
100%.
you're able to capture
Yes.
it. You recognize it, you capture it, and you deploy it.
I know it's something and I need to go that direction, you know what I mean? And see what's really there. And that day, I'm telling you, I had 6 lines on a piece of paper. And 5-6 hours later, I had a book that I think is going to sell a crap load and impact a bunch of people. And the title and the fucking Cole flipped the fucking cover like 3 hours later. Like the thing has been done for a year. And we've only been here. I mean, it was done in a month. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So that's why I'm patient with the process of putting it out to do it the right way, because I think it's that impactful. Because I think this is that impactful, you know. And I think it's a separator. Like in my own, I don't look at me versus everyone else. I'm looking at me, separating from the old me to the new me. Like it's so important. I've always been that way. Like what is the separator? Like what can I be doing in my life that could like what do I want my life to look like? And it wants to be on that next level of education and impact and teaching people to keep asking themselves the question that you said at the very beginning, why not me? Because I had to ask myself that so often because I was up against so much stuff, as were you and as were you. And if I wasn't asking myself that, I would not be here. Because every time I would question myself that it wasn't for me, I would literally argue with myself and say, why not? Why does that person get to do it, but I don't get to? They don't know better than me. We're all the same.
Well, eventually that why not me becomes how can I?
Yeah, for sure.
Because then the belief is there. Once the belief is there, it's just figuring out how to actually
Strategy.
execute.
I love the strategy part. That's probably one of my favorite.
And speaking of strategy, so I'll touch on this one for the creativity part of it. So being intentional about how you look at your time. So like I'm doing an energy time audit. All of my time is tracked by my assistant. Everything that I do on a daily basis in the last probably 3 to 4 months is it's wrote down. It's checked out. How many hours I spend, what I'm working on, and then eventually I'm going to get rid of all the shit I don't want to do at all. And I know that for me, I've had time where in the morning especially, I get my workout in, my personal development, like I'm on cloud 9 at that point compared to the rest of the day.
Sure.
After all that happens, like I've already won, it's not even 7 o'clock in the morning yet. And if I'm intentional about 7 to 10 or 11 o'clock of 3 to 4 hours of blocked out alone time, I can be very creative in that with the intent of being creative. If I have things that I need to work on or things I need to do, there's videos that I've done for the company, for R&R, I've done it in that time frame where I'm a maker of content or being creative in that state. But on like a Monday when our CFO's in town, we have 3 or 4 hours of meetings every Monday. That's more like the manager side where I'm not going to go create a bunch of content on Mondays. I know that. You're
it's
probably
not the same part of the brain,
right,
bro. I don't think.
So being very intentional about how you group together certain things. If you want to do a podcast, do content, like I have another podcast this afternoon, I did 2 of them Tuesday. Like I know that's going to be my day and I'm going to stay in that creative space and that mindset. So I'm not trying to go from a podcast to a meeting with the bank to the P&L breakdown. Like I'll break down the P&L either tomorrow or Monday for closing out July.
Yeah.
Like it's very intentional about how you group things together. That has helped me a ton.
That's a really important thing with some of the business coaching I'm doing. That's one of the biggest keys that I've helped offer is I would look at someone's schedule and say, that you jumping from that to that's not making you real efficient because your brain doesn't work that way. And it was really evident with shout out Matty Strong, one of the guys I'm helping. He's an engineer, also a multiply lifter, so he's a lifter too. And he was doing 2 different things. Once I understood what he does, he was doing 2 different things within the business that are like not the same part of the brain, or not even his same preference of what he likes to do. So I'm like, dude, what if you did all of this version in this block of time?
Oh, dude, you'll 10 extra productivity.
And he did immediately, and then do all this part of the engineering that you don't need to be as creative and you dislike. It's like task in this time, dude. Within a week, he was like, gee, he was like, He was Friday. He was on it. He lives close to the water. He's like on the beach. He's like, dude, I killed everything. His efficiency went through the roof. It was amazing. And so anyway, the time blocks are really important.
I think it is, and being intentional about the task during that time block,
matching the task up that kind of they got to get the same flow state is really important.
What happens? Like if you're in that manager state, like on a Monday for me, if I go try to be creative, I'm breaking the P&L down, and then I want to go do a video.
Yeah, I can't do that.
To transfer to that creative state after being methodical, slow down on the process, looking at the numbers, calculating the numbers. Like I'm truly breaking this thing down, and then I want to go do content, be creative and spontaneous and, just authentic and raw outside of the actual, like the breakdown component. It's almost impossible to do that at a high level because like you said, the left side of your brain's on one thing, the right side's on the other, and you're just in the middle.
I just know I'm not going to be great that way.
Right. But if you group them together, then everything flows together and you don't have to re-engage. So I think the one thing we haven't mentioned is like the re-engagement or the engagement in itself, where a distraction can ruin everything.
Oh yeah.
Like for me, I lock myself in my office at the house or at Max, and I need to be fully engaged with what I'm doing because I can do 8 hours of work in 2 if I'm fully focused on it.
I would agree.
And I think that intentional component and the true focus. Like, are you truly focused on this thing, or are you sitting there fiddle fucking around on Instagram or whatever, half-ass taking calls? Like you said about the book, you shut everything outside of that because nothing else mattered at that moment because of how authentic.
I honestly didn't give 2 fucks what else was going on because I didn't want to lose what I knew it could be great.
And you wrote a book in a few hours.
Yeah, like 6 hours.
Yeah, so that is the ultimate component of focus that you could have.
I got here
you
like
knew that you couldn't be distracted.
I got here like 7 a.m. and I was on the boat heading home at like 1 with it done.
So I think being intentional with that is huge, and then grouping the tasks together.
For those out there listening to this and wondering how can they find that spot in their life, how did you find that might be the solution to pair those things together, each of you? Was it because you guys stumbled upon that and you're like, wait a minute, why am I breaking this managerial stuff down and looking at things that maybe I don't prefer, don't have the best flow state with, and then I'm trying to go make myself focus on something else that should be more fun, more creative, more wheelhouse, and you can't break your mind back and forth from one to the other? Is it because you guys went through that yourself already?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's being
personal development.
That's what I was going to say. I think I've immersed myself in so much personal development that I was searching and curious for like the most efficient way, and I started to test just like lifting. I look at everything through that lens. Basically, I was like, well, what program do I essentially need to follow that can, I guess, like kind of nurture either of those things to be as best as they can? And then what happened was I started to notice back when I was lunging all the time, that my best daily fires were immediately when I was done, because you had like that runner's high.
That's why
Right.
the creativity part for me is
Yeah.
right there.
And I started to realize that there has to be a washing machine of things that needs to happen every day for me to be the best version of me, or quote unquote half normal. I have to do really unnormal things to then put myself in a position so I can just be efficient and kind of normal, and then also tap into those things that I think are gifts to me. So
And for me, I realized a lot of my learning was from setbacks, from fear or adversity or not being good enough. Quite frankly, I know a lot of people that work really, really hard, put in a lot of time and effort every day, and they're on this hamster wheel of misery because they're not actually growing.
Yep.
They're just doing a lot of shit continuously without the growth. And so, like, I'm doing this energy and time audit now because I want to know how bad I suck. I'm embracing this thing of how bad do I suck, because I know that if I suck really bad, then I can get really good.
Yeah.
Because I am aware and willing to be vulnerable enough to know that I'm maybe 60% efficient. And whenever you think about, okay, if I spend 60 hours a week of work, and what does the ROI look like for the time that you put in? So what is the return on investment for your hours that you put in every week? And how can you maximize that ROI? If you look at it from that perspective, I mean, it breaks it down. Okay, if I don't like doing something and I suck at it, I'm not fucking doing it whatsoever. If I don't like to do something but I'm good at it, I'll only do it if I have to. I should only be doing what I'm good at and what I love. So, like, we've talked about this high-level P&L stuff. Me and you were able to look at a P&L, dissect it very quick, and process things that we need to do to get better. But we're not going to sit there and break down every line item and go through it line by line. We know where
I don't
we're
even
good
want to
at
read
that.
it.
Right. What's the revenue? What's the COGS? What's the gross and net? And why? And the EBITDA. If we have them 4 or 5 things dialed in, I'm good. But knowing that, okay, I need the essential part. I don't need all of it. And sticking to what you're really good at and getting better at it. There is a component in the weightlifting game where you got to improve on what you're weak at.
Yep.
In business, I think you need to be more aware of what you're weak at.
I would agree.
And continue to focus more on what you're really good at and get better at that.
I just think like I just get in the way on the stuff I'm not good at, and then I don't even do the stuff I'm really good at as well.
Exactly.
I think we've learned that a little bit. Most recently, me and Tyler working together a little bit better at Max. Like, I just was like, I shouldn't even be mixed up in this stuff.
Right.
I should only be focused on the bigger things that I think I can execute that no one else on our team can do.
I have created so much chaos and not clarity in the business and been a liability and not an asset to like the detriment of everyone else, thinking that I'm helping and honestly creating more setbacks than evolution in it. So just being aware of who you are, man, I think that's a superpower in itself, and being willing and confident enough to be vulnerable with what you're not good at. A lot of people are not willing to face the thing that they suck at. And so if you want to get bigger in business or bigger as an individual, you just got to get a lot better. And a lot of people are not willing to put in the extra reps on getting better at what they already know. And so you get better until you can't get any better at a certain thing. And then you start to get bigger. But then you have to go back to getting better. Because at some point, like, you're going to have a breakthrough where
For sure.
you can't get any better at just one thing. So then you start hiring people, you start building a team around you. Well, then you're at ground zero again. You just got to get better because you're not doing the thing you used to do. And that never stops. And then I'll say this on the last thing, that's something I've really prioritized this year, just saying no. If it doesn't fit with exactly what your goals are for the year, then just say no. Because ultimately, I think saying no is in itself a superpower. But the people that become great at anything obsess over that thing and that thing only for a long period of time, and then don't deviate from that. Because as you start to gain success, the most inevitable truth is everybody's rooting for you when you have nothing. So when you're first starting, you're sleeping on the floor of the trailer, you're bracing up the house with your uncle, like, it's shit. Everybody wants you to win. And then you start winning. And then it changes slowly. The people that were cheering you on are now, critical of you because you're actually doing it and they're not. And so you just start growing. And then you just realize that the people that were cheering me on aren't cheering me on now, but you don't need a fucking cheerleader anymore. You don't need someone to root for you because you wake up every day, face the mirror, and look at yourself, and you're like, I'm rooting for me. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So knowing that to get bigger, you got to just get better, and you got to continue to do the thing, but saying no, I call it priority awareness. Have awareness of what your priorities are. And then when faced with a decision, just be willing to say no right now. a lot of people are not willing to say no because they're fearful of the other person's like thought or what's going to be received back. And you just say no, and you don't say anything. Don't justify it. Don't do anything. Just say no. And you cut the cord clean. And I'm telling you what, it's empowering once you learn how to say no quickly.
For sure.
And you don't leave it lingering out there. You just say nope. Doesn't fit.
Kobe was saying, I was watching an interview, he was like, this is just how I'd look at it. Monday, get better. Tuesday, get better. Wednesday, get better. Thursday, it's a bad day, still get better. Friday, it's like one of those things where he was like so automatic, and then he kind of said the same thing. Like, if he didn't trust your work ethic, that's why he wasn't passing guys the ball.
Yeah.
I fucking love that.
I do too.
Oh, I see how you work. I ain't passing you the ball. I'll fucking shoot it myself. Get the fucking rebound.
There's a lot better chance
He told Shaq, get the fucking rebound. Because he couldn't shoot free throws. He said, I'm open. He said, they keep hacking you. You keep missing the free throws.
They call it hack-a-shack for a reason, right?
He said, so get the motherfucking rebound.
Hey, you know what? Like,
I love
someone that truly stuck to his game through and through, though. Let's shout out Mamba. I mean, he goes out his last game ever after an Achilles rupture, like 60. You know?
Amazing.
It took him 40 or 50, 60 shots to get there, but he still got 60.
Yeah,
but
his mentality was awesome.
But it's just, don't negotiate with yourself. Do the thing that we all know what we have to do every damn day, and are more reluctant not to do it for whatever reason, because it's not sexy, it's not flashy. I mean, you've made a lot of money, millions of dollars off of your content, directly, indirectly, whatever.
Yep.
But it's not because of the content, it's because of what you do every day that's actually created that threshold.
I think it's also just like kind of back to early in the thing. Like, I've just kept going on what was the most natural, what I love the most, which I think I had when I kind of paired the impact with what I love. That's where the oxygen and the sauce was. When I realized like I was putting out workouts that people were in need of, and then they were getting the results that they've been always looking for, I realized that my value is way more immense than maybe I initially thought. And so if you really break it down to why I'm here, it's because I've been writing workouts for my friends since I was 14 or 15 years old. I'm probably the most elite at programming, and any real programmer that talks to me understands that. They might not think that because they originally just see me as an internet influencer. They don't realize of the people that I learned from, the way I immersed myself in programming, the way I lived it, and the reason why my programs have been the most contributing factor of why I've made any money. It really comes back to just being good at writing down workouts. Which is pretty funny. If you really come all the way down back to how did I make myself different on the internet? I had a whole drawer full of workouts that I just typed up on Facebook. Why did bodybuilding.com want to fucking put videos around it? Because people were sharing them. I was also living it at the same time. And then it evolved into Cory G Fitness. It evolves into how you take your supplements around your workouts. So it all comes back to that. It's really that.
That is such a powerful thought, because everybody sees the success and the programming now without seeing the 20 years of fucking failures and sacrifice and hard work.
I've tried everything.
And that's the only reason why you're so successful in the space, is because you were willing to try, be vulnerable, and fail. If that was,
of course.
I remember you coming out with a 4-week deadlift every day.
Yeah, and it hurt half of us.
Right.
That's the one I wish I wouldn't have done.
But guess what? You tried it, because I guarantee that'd never been done before.
And the squat every day stuff had been done in cycles, from time to time, but not the way I programmed it. And the reality was that was an ultimate separator for me.
Yes.
Not because I was stronger than everybody, but because
athletes,
I was going through
every
it.
athlete that comes through with that front squat band variation of 4 or 5 days a week.
So it's like, I think that if I really pare it all the way down, I'm just a really good workout writer.
It's funny because I went through 3 or 4 years of writing my own programming.
Yeah.
And I learned more about myself and about programming at that point than I ever had before.
Of course.
And that was, probably 6 or 7 years ago, a couple years before coming back to OSG. And I learned so much about my body because I had the Whoop, the Apple Watch, I was tracking my steps, my macros every day, to the point of it being a stressor.
Yeah, it's too stressful.
But now, because of that, stressor and that failure and the fear of taking my shirt off and all the other shit, now I'm on autopilot. Mm-hmm. I'm probably as lean and better shape than I've ever been. And it's effortless now compared to 5 years ago.
Oh,
but it's all because of that monotonous day after day, waking up at 3. Doesn't matter if you go to bed at 8:30 or 1:30 in the morning. It's just you set your alarm and wake up.
I was watching Prison Break till 11 last night. Dumb.
Yeah,
got up at 3:20. I was like, geez, why did I do that to myself?
Yeah, I know there's a couple nights when I'm
You're
going to bed.
choosing it. You're like, what am I doing to myself?
Yeah, why do I do this
Yeah.
shit? But you know that you got to get up, so you don't. It's not like, oh man, I wonder if I can get my ass out. But no, you don't
Yeah.
associate with the mental like
I don't have a discussion
option
with
of
myself.
it. No, it is non-negotiable.
Isn't it funny to hear me say it like that though, Tyler? All the way broken down to that's really what it is.
Yeah,
And I've known that for a really long time.
That's dumb. That's pretty good.
But you think
It
about
is.
it like
That's really what it is.
Yeah, but-
Rachel said that to me. She's like, you're just like they just never stop. You're just really good at you're maybe one of the best at writing workouts ever. I said, I honestly think I might be because it's what's proven every business.
Well, and here's the one separator for Cory Gregory out of everyone and anyone that I've ever seen write programming. Your authentic and venerable approach about being drug-free your whole life.
Yep.
That's why you can say with confidence that you know what it takes to be elite whenever you are choosing a moral high ground
Yep.
and not doing the thing that could get you where you want to go by taking an easier way out.
Yep.
And I think
But I believe my programs really contributed to the way I operate and way I look.
because
and
literally anybody can do it and be successful
Yeah.
because you're doing it without the extracurriculars
For sure.
that a lot of other people that are prescribing these workouts are obviously taking.
Yeah, they're not telling you that secret, and I don't have one. I'm just doing what I'm doing, and so I'm real prideful of that because I think that at the end of the day, that's why people have stuck with me as long as they have. You know what I mean? Because of a lot of that stuff. But I know I'm still curious. Like the Pump 30 has been a good iteration, but it's still like because I've already tested and tried a bunch of these methods within it. That's why they're so different and unique, and I take a lot of pride in almost running back what really made me popular in the first
Shout out
place.
to Pump 30s.
Yeah, they're fucking
That
kicking
thing
our
is
ass.
hell.
So anyway, I want to make sure that people understand that it's something that is you can get from a magazine, but when we were kids, or your grandpa might have wrote out for you. I just did a lot of it, and that's really and tested myself and immersed myself with other really great programmers through the years that I've had the liberty to learn from, and I'm just their coaching. I'm part of their coaching tree.
Yeah.
They just didn't realize it. Louis Simmons, Arnold Schwarzenegger, guys that are one-on-one GOAT level dudes. I got to learn from them personally, and there's just not a lot of people that can really. There's no one else I don't think that can even say that. Literally.
That's incredible. I mean, you think about the different components of what you've done from Beachbody fitness magazine cover to Multiply Records. Like, find me another one.
Yeah, it's super wide, but that's what I love. I love the immersion of when I was 230 and I was going to West Side and I was wearing canvas suits.
You're just Cory Gregory. You're you.
I just want to lift
And you
weights.
haven't apologized for it.
No, I just
Yeah.
want to lift weights, man, and get paid. All right, looks like we changed the battery.
Hey, close it down. Let's have a
we're gonna go. Listen, Jake Emery, you're fucking killing it. This was awesome. Tyler Sealover, we're glad to have you on the show. This is the Iron Infrastructure Podcast, and we are out of here.
out of here because the camera's done for.